powers the cell, powers the protein machines. See, like in this, in those lights, electrons are coming in the incoming wire in a high voltage state. They drop in voltage as they go through the light, releasing light and heat, and then they exit in a low voltage state. Now, so first write that down. All living things run on electricity. High voltage electrons that fall as electricity, releasing energy. That's always what powers cells. Electricity. Okay, now next fact. How do cells get their high voltage electrons? Let's first talk about plants. Plants make their own high voltage electrons using what? Sunlight. So, talk with me. Plants take in low voltage electrons that come in on water. H2O is where they get these from. They hit them with light from the sun, which kicks them into a high voltage state. You then store the high, something has to store the high voltage electrons. What stores them? Sugar. That's the job of sugar in biology, to store high voltage electrons. So sugar acts literally like a battery.
Sugar acts literally like a battery.
You can build batteries out of sugar. And then that all happened in the what? The chloroplast, those green things that make plants look green. And that's called photosynthesis. And then the sugar goes out of the chloroplast into the what? The mighty mitochondria, which is like the energy, this is like the engine of a cell. And there the sugar basically breaks down, the electrons are released, and they fall. And they power the cell as electricity. So say it again. Low energy electrons come in on water, hit them with light from the sun, kick them into a high voltage state, store them on sugar, glucose sugar, whose job is to act like a battery. Sugar then goes out of the chloroplast into the mitochondria, where the sugar breaks down, electrons are released, as it were, and they fall as electricity and power protein machines in a very complex process that you'll have to take a 1-hour test on in midterm too. You have to draw this all out. Okay, that's the big picture, around and around. Okay, how do animals get their high energy electrons? We can't make our own from sunlight. We have to what? Eat them. So we have to eat high energy electrons and then let them fall in our mitochondria. See, so we only run 1/2 of the cycle. Say it again. Animals eat their high energy electrons and then let them fall as electricity in the mitochondria. Okay, so now I'll let you write that down. Plants, what do plants do? What do animals do?
This is also the prokaryotes that don't have mitochondria. They're
Right.
glycolysis.
They're like mitochondria themselves. The whole cell is like a mitochondria.
They have something like electron transport.
They all have electron transport chains, yeah, in the membranes. and other things too, but yeah, most of our energy is coming from carbohydrates, sugars. Okay, and lastly, all cells, where do all the protein machines come from? DNA. So DNA is this long, stringy molecule, 3 billion base pairs in the case of a human. Remember our chart over there that I talked you through? And here's the bit. We've all heard of genes. Okay, where does it? What do genes do? Genes make protein machines. That rhymes.
Make protein machines.
Each gene in the DNA codes for the production of one protein machine. Like one gene will make a motor, another gene will make a pump, another gene will make an enzyme, and so forth. So write that down. Genes make protein machines. Each gene codes for the production of one protein machine. And a gene, to be more specific, a gene is a stretch of DNA that codes for one protein machine.
It's like a segment of...
Huh? It's a segment of DNA, yeah. And I showed you, remember I showed you the genes on those charts. They were the little tiny colored boxes. A gene is a stretch of DNA that codes for one protein machine. How many genes in a fruit fly? About 15,000. How many in a human? About 20,000. You can write that down. 15,000 in a fruit fly, about 20,000 in a human. Okay, now stand up and then we're going to talk through the whole formulation out loud together so you make some long-term memory. Here we go, everybody up. Okay, so you talk along with me with all the kinesthetics. Here we go. Make some long-term memories, right? Make some new synapses. So this thing we're going to do right now is as important as anything we do all semester. You've really got to, I'm giving you a great way to think about what cells are. Here we go. All cells have four supremely important things. One, a membrane to protect the cell, keep the good stuff in, bad stuff out, act as the border between the order inside the cell and the chaos outside. Two, they all have little machines called proteins that do everything in the cell, including motors, pumps, and enzymes. Motors have a stepping domain, an ATP burning domain, and a cargo carrying domain. The pumps cycle back and forth like this, and the enzymes act like hands to grab molecules and construct them or break them down. Third, all machines need energy, so all cells have an energy system to power the protein machines. The energy system always involves, grab a pen here, high voltage electrons that the cell gets somehow, which are allowed to fall as electricity, releasing energy. And by the way, when we say they fall, do they fall through midair like this thing? No. They jump from what? One protein to another. These are the electron transport proteins. And what do these electron transport proteins almost always have inside them? Iron and copper atoms. because iron and copper conduct electricity. They're going zip, 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 like water over a waterfall. That's the electron transport chain. Okay,
So each time it jumps, it releases energy?
Yep. Each time it falls, it's releasing energy, which is harnessed by the cell. Okay, keep going. So, how do the cells get their high voltage electrons? Plants take in low voltage electrons that come in on water, hit them with light, kick them into a high voltage state, store them on sugar, which acts like a battery. The sugar goes out of the chloroplast into the mitochondria, where the sugar breaks down, releasing the electrons, which fall as electricity and power the cell. And animals have to eat their high energy electrons in the form of sugars from ultimately plants, and then the electrons fall in the mitochondria. Finally, all cells have DNA, whose job is to make the protein machines. Genes make protein machines. Each gene is a stretch of DNA that codes for the production of one protein machine. And now I'll give you 30 more seconds if you want to shore up your notes.
There's about 90% of energy lost in a trophic cascade.
Yeah? Only about 10% of the energy in each trophic level gets into the next higher level. Like when a lion eats a giraffe. Okay, and we're just going to see a quick slide set, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll do our SAS. Let's see if oh man, I left my laser. Is this way? Does it work?